made in a proper coffee pot. I may be off my dot, but I want a proper coffee in a proper copper pot. Copper pot. Copper pot. Iron coffee pots and tin coffee pots. They are of no use to me. If I can't have a proper cup of coffee in a proper cup of coffee pot, I'll have a cup of tea. I can't believe I made it through that. I'm terrible at tongue twisters. So, welcome again to Julia Pop. Hopefully, everything is going okay. If you haven't noticed yet, I have some new lighting so I don't look blue when I get a little closer to the screen. So that's good news. And hopefully you can hear me. I've got a nice new fancier microphone. So let me know if it is giving us any trouble. We can always switch back to the old microphone. So do feel free to pipe in and make sure that that you're able to hear me okay. So you'll notice that the setup is slightly different, and not just because of the microphone, because I have a little bit of a gap over here because for the very first time in Julia Pop history, we have ourselves our first guest. And you know him, I know him, you love him, I love him more. AKA Roddy, that would be our Steven. So let's welcome Steven. Yay! I don't have an applause meter like Jared does, so he's
That's
just
okay.
gonna have to come over.
Yay! I'm my own
Yay!
applause meter.
It's
It'll be
you
fine.
kind of are. It's very cute when you do that. So if you haven't heard it, so first of all, thank you for coming. Those of you that made it last week to talk about candy, those of you that have watched it after the fact, I hope you've been enjoying that as well. This week, I did label it Chai and I, aka T and B. And so if you have any comments that you want to make, any preferences that you like, if you like coffee better than tea. There we go. So Inger says hello, Stephen.
I see her. Hello. I hope you can hear me.
I'm
If
pretty
not, I
sure
can be
I
louder.
I don't think you need to be any
I,
louder, my friend. No, no, no. So, as you can see from the title, we are not just talking about tea, but we're talking about coffee. Now, I am wearing, of course, one of my favorite wrestlers. Hey, you're wearing a wrestler too. And so, of course, my favorite wrestler loves tea and loves Starbucks. We'll talk a little bit about the evil empire as well. But I wanted to give you guys just kind of a lowdown on what we're going to talk about today and what you think about coffee and tea and ideas, thoughts, etc. So I've got a couple little things. I always jokingly call coffee bean water. And of course, what would we call tea? We would call it leaf water. So for some reason, socially, these two drinks in particular have always been extremely popular. And not only that, but we seem to gather at the coffee shops. We seem to gather at the tea rooms and those kinds of things. And we've been doing that for probably thousands of years at this point. And for some reason, these little dark shaded waters have a tendency to get us to gather around. So, Stephen, what about you? Do you like tea or coffee better?
oh, I'm an iced tea drinker.
Iced tea. So not just not hot tea, but more iced
I'm
tea.
more iced tea. It comes with the genes. That's how I know Julie's adopted. My sister, she's adopted because all the Cobbs like tea except for her.
She's the only one that likes coffee.
I don't even know if she likes coffee that well. She doesn't drink either of them that much.
So none of the above.
Yeah, when we were growing up, she always felt kind of bad because we'd go out to Grandma Cobb's house and all the cousins and everything be over, and we'd all be drinking tea, and she wouldn't.
Very strange. Yeah. So that does bring me an idea. First of all, if you noticed earlier in the week, I did share a YouTube video selection, a little playlist that had some of my favorite ads. Because as you know, me here at Julia Pop, I do love all the different ads, all the different um, social experimentation that advertising really is, and what it tries to tell us and what kind of gets stuck into our heads. All right, so Inger says she likes hot tea or hot coffee. Brewed drinks are not meant to be cold because oftentimes the brewing process heats it up, right? It's not a cold, and I'm always curious about
Us
what does
Cobbs,
that mean, a
us
cold
Cobbs,
brew?
we didn't brew our tea.
What did you do? Did you sit it out in the sun? Did you have sun tea?
We had sun
Okay,
tea.
so that's on my list of
We're
something to talk
farmers.
about.
We
Those
make sun tea.
but it's those big giant jars,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then did they have a preference because we talk a lot about brands on this channel as well.
Lipton.
Lipton was the brand. Okay, cuz I know that Louisiana and Tetley are kind of some of the other ones that end up in the sun tea, But you guys did Sun Tea and had like, so that was a pretty big family, all those cousins, right? Did you have like multiple
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
jugs of the
And then
tea?
you'd leave it out there for a while, and
Right.
it's through the summer because
Yeah.
you're out there,
Oh, but
doing
wait,
stuff, and so
what's
then it would get really concentrated, and so then you dilute it by dumping it into the ice in the first place. So yeah,
gotcha? So, well, and part of that too is because what was making the brewing happen, the sun, right?
that's right.
So it was hot tea until you put it with the.
It was warm tea.
Okay, all right. So, but I don't know. I think you're right, but I'm a big fan of cold chai, and normally people are like, "Ick, gross," but I actually really like cold chai. In fact, I have a chai problem, and a little later we'll get into more of that conversation as well. So, first of all, I wanted to kind of just give you a bit of a rundown on coffee itself. Um, while a lot of people think it's older than 15th century, that's AKA the 1400s, um, they say that it was based in Yemen. So that is a place um, in the Middle East, and some of the other locations that are very popular for having made coffee over the years would be Java, because you could talk about it being a cup of Java, and Brazil. I've never heard it called a cup of Brazil, but Brazil has quite a few coffee beans that grow there. Now, it is a 495.5 billion dollar business as compared to tea, which is 49.5 billion in business. So like 10 times more. However, that said, after water, tea is the second most drank beverage in the world. So coffee does not beat tea as far as that is concerned. And of course, one of the first coffee houses, because like I say, we talk about the social aspect of coffee. One of the houses where you would have that was actually in Istanbul, so
Not
in Turkey.
Constantinople.
Not Constantinople at the time. I believe it was Istanbul. Check my history if I need to.
I'll
Um,
call the doctor later,
Okay, and
and
you'll put a doctor hat on, and
yeah.
then we'll get the answers. Okay, that'll work. That'll work. And so, the funny thing is that a lot of people, since it was Middle Eastern, a lot of Christians would stay away from it, thinking that it was a Muslim drink and that was something awful, and even ugh, called it the devil's drink, which is just awful.
But I
And
barely like coffee.
I know. You would think
Doesn't
that
really
if
make any
they're calling it
sense.
your drink,
Right.
then yeah, exactly. So in 1600, Pope Clement VIII decided to take a sip of it, decided, no, it's not devil's drink. It is a drink that should be blessed. So he baptized coffee, and coffee became a Christian accepted drink.
But only if made with holy water. I think
Oh,
there's
is that right? So
regulations.
I got to
Yeah.
bless the water. Man, that is why. Do I have to bless the water when I drink tea?
If you're wise, you just bless the coffee pot, the brewer, and
Oh,
then you're
okay.
golden
And then it's
throughout.
all
Yeah, yeah,
done.
yeah.
Okay, well that
It's all
makes sense.
automated
And
now.
and Crystal says it's because of Britain. So and welcome,
That.
Crystal. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. So and then of course one of the earliest how do I say this? The first coffee shop, coffee house in England was right next to a college. What were the odds? So you can stay up pulling those all-nighters at Oxford
Oh,
back in
Oxford.
uh-huh,
Wow.
yeah, back in Oxford, you
That's
poor
not
thing. It's
Cambridge.
not Cambridge at all. But that was in 1654. So college people have been drinking coffee to stay awake and study for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, another interesting thing that happened when people gathered at the coffee houses is sometimes rebellions might start. So, speaking of Britain, Charles II banned coffee houses for a while because he thought that rebels were um, forming there and wanting to overturn him. So, he decided to say, nope, we are not going to do anything as far as coffee is concerned. Kat, welcome. Thank you for chiming in as well. Uh, that would have been college men. You are 100% correct. There would not have been very many women, if at
To
all,
be
at that
fair,
point.
it was Oxford, so probably college boys
Oh,
was
college
more.
boys,
Yeah.
Oxford boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. But yes, Kat is absolutely right on that part of it. And so, of course, at this point, oh, also, by the way, just a little side note Bach, yes, the composer, actually wrote something in the 1730s called the Bach Coffee Cantata. That's how popular coffee was. Everybody was drinking it. So, also in the 1700s was when tea, well, the Tea Act was what had come along, and it was heavily taxed because so many people liked it and drank it. So the government decided to take all of your money from it. And what did that lead to in America? They were being taxed heavily on the tea. So they're like, forget you, Britain, forget your tea. And that was how we
Luckily,
got.
that's a thing of the past. We don't do that anymore on tobacco or sugar or
No, no, yeah, we've got
marijuana
all
or
of those taxes, so many taxes. And so, because of that, we had what we always know as the Boston Tea Party in 1773. And at that point, that was when the drinking of coffee went way up in the States. But eventually, the Tea Act got let go. And at that point, in England, in the UK, it finally became the daily beverage for everyone. So whether you were rich, poor, anywhere in the middle, they would make sure you had your daily tea. And so that was where tea branched off and grew in the UK, whereas in the States, coffee became our more important or more preferred drink.
I heard the Tea Act was actually put on by Big Coffee. That's what I've heard.
to make people drink more
That's
coffee.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So after that, a lot of people think that instant coffee, like the little coffee crystals that you would stir in, yeah, I'm not crazy about that either. That instant coffee, instant tea, that those came along maybe in the 1950s or so. But in reality, the first instant coffee was made in 1889 in New Zealand, probably because they didn't have a lot of access to coffee, and so because of
And they
that,
don't have much taste. I mean,
oh, I'm going to tell your New Zealand friends that you said that. I'm
go ahead.
totally going to tell on you. And so the topper, of course, for coffee is that in 1923 it was declared kosher by the Jewish community, and so they were also able to drink that as well. As we move forward into the 1950s with coffee, we had what was known as the coffee klatsch, and sometimes the coffee klatsch that actually is from the German Kaffeeklatsch, and those happened way hundreds of years ago in Austria and Germany. But then the wives of the 1950s, feeling alone in their housekeeping, gathered together and would have coffee every day. So, very similar now across the pond, of course, in the 1800s into the 1900s. Queen Victoria was highly influential on the afternoon tea that we know over in the UK today. And so that includes tea parties, afternoon tea, making sure you have your manners, making sure you have your biscuits and your tea cakes. And we'll talk a little bit about tea cakes too. So Inger says, I wonder if it was ease of transport on ships. So maybe tea was easier, or maybe coffee was
Well, she's
easier.
talking about for the New Zealand, I'm sure,
Oh,
with the
yeah.
instant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's essentially
That makes sense.
dehydrated. I would imagine it would be tough. They'd have to pack it pretty well to
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
keep it dehydrated the entire way, especially back in the 19th century. That's
Yeah, can you
I don't
imagine?
know what they have there.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll skip over to tea a little bit and talk about that. Now, the first recorded use of tea only goes back to the 200s in AD in China, which is verified. But there is also a legend that it was as early as 2737 BC. Um, a legendary person by the name of Shenong would be the first person who took the leaves. A lot of times the leaves, they would actually eat the leaves instead, but then once they realized they could smash it all up, mix it with water, and drink it instead, that's where the popularity of drinking tea became a big deal. But it was the origin in China is definitely clear, and it is also it would spread into India as well as Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, if I've said that correctly. And like I said, the first tea room was in Japan, and it was way back in 1160. And the room was called Tsuen Tea. I don't know if I've spelled that or said that correctly, but it was, get this, the 13th oldest business still in existence today. So it started in 1160 and is still going, but there's still 12 other businesses in Japan that have kept track and stayed going. In this day and age, when you have tea rooms and coffee shops close after 2 years, that's amazing and fantastic. So, Crystal says growing coffee pods in specific climates would make shopping harder, I would think, or shipping harder, I would think. And so, yeah, I think that was definitely what Stephen and Inger were both getting at, is how hard it would be to get the coffee successfully that far away.
So
So,
that was part of the trade. You know, you talk
mhm,
about the triangular trade routes and
mhm.
everything. but also coffee was absolutely in on those
Mhm.
routes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like that those both tea and coffee were so important. They were worth quite a price because so many people wanted them. And so what happened was, as what I mentioned before about Charles II, Catherine of Braganza in 1662 introduced him to tea, and he's like, ah, forget that coffee, let's switch to tea. So that it's interesting how coffee, the history of coffee and tea intertwines not only from where it came from, and then it all kind of meets in England quite a bit because it was a center of power and a center of goods. So of course they would colonize a place and take advantage of harvesting coffee beans or harvesting tea leaves or whatever that happened to be. So interestingly, at that point, with the Tea Act in place, tea smuggling actually dropped the price of tea and made it more available to people who weren't quite as rich. And then, like I said, over time, it became the daily beverage of most people in the UK. And then, like I also mentioned, Queen Victoria, not only was she a fashion plate and people dress like her, she's the reason why we have white wedding dresses this day. She's the first one to do it. But she was also one of the first ones to bring the proper tea party into our presents. And of course, with all the cute little, all the little glasses, the teapots and the teacups and everything, all of that delicateness was very much from Victoria herself.
I think you're mistaken there
What's
because
that?
I work at a couple of Renaissance festivals,
Do
and
you?
we have Queen's tea all the time, and so it must be in the everything in the Renaissance festival is historically accurate down to
I seem
the tea,
I
literally.
say I
So
seem to remember somebody saying something along the lines of "Don't pull threads at a Ren fair."
that is probably a good idea.
Yeah,
You're probably right.
that would be my guess as why we might want to avoid that. So, but I will tell you. So, like I said, depending on when that takes place, tea was in existence by that point, but was it in England yet? So, unless some fancy person brought it up, so of course with the pinky up.
Not me.
At well, but Victoria, I'm sure,
Wow.
did pink. We would have to check that. So, but yes, I believe it was probably pinky up because, of course, now we know that as sipping the tea or spilling the tea, whatever. And so that is something else that I want to get into. Let's just take a little side note. How many catchphrases involve tea and how few catchphrases have coffee? So, of course, I just mentioned spill the tea. So that's kind of, when you want to gossip about something, kind of like the coffee clouch. You want to gossip, you spill the tea. And then, of course, if something is not your cup of tea, it's just not something you prefer. And then, of course, if you wouldn't trade something for all the tea in China, obviously there's a lot of tea in China. And so then the last one. Now, I would like for you to chime in. I've made a discovery today that I didn't realize was the case. I'm going to say this phrase, and I want you guys to type in and complete it. Coffee, tea, or and fill in that blank. What is that blank? Coffee, tea, or. And so what has happened is I've asked just kind of anecdotally, I've asked about 4 people so far and not gotten the same answer that I thought it was. And I don't know if it's a sign that I'm really old or not, but yep, there we go. Kat, you are in the majority of the people that when I asked them, they said coffee, tea, or me. And that was actually yep, and Inger has it too. And so that was actually a book that came out in 1967. And it was alleged at the time. Crystal says hot cocoa. Yep, that's my best friend for a reason. Yep. So, so interestingly, that was the name of a book that came out in 1967, and it was supposedly a truthful book about the escapades of 2 stewardesses
A tell
and
all
all of their
almost.
escapades. Very much a tell-all, very a bit naughty. And so, what's funny is I ask people, okay, well, yeah, but what does the me? What did they used to say? They didn't always say coffee, tea, or me. I mean, that was a very flirtatious thing to say, but what was it before
Oh,
that?
did you see it?
Oh wait, Evan said water. Kay has saved me. And Robert also said me. Crystal said hot cocoa. Evan said water. That was his answer. Um, Milk. Yes, Kay. Thank you. I'm not alone. Finally, you are the one that answered the same as I did when I was trying. And get this. And check me if I'm wrong. If you have a different search engine, please look it up. whenever I went to look it up just to Google it, I couldn't find coffee, tea, or milk. All I could find was coffee, tea, or me. And then all of the bot suggestions were, don't you mean coffee, tea, or me? No, I meant coffee, tea, or milk. So somehow this old phrase has been wildly overtaken by the new phrase, and I can't find the old phrase anywhere. It's a little Mandela effect. Those of you that, if you don't know what the Mandela effect is, an entire group of people remember something very different than what really happened. Um, and we've got lots of those. And I'm probably going to do it now that I think about it. I should do a whole show
You
on the
should.
Mandela effect so we can talk about what we noticed and what we didn't.
Try to keep it in the pop culture area. Most of it is.
Oh,
Pop
for
culture.
sure, for sure. Yeah, the majority of it is, and so I would love to do that. So yeah, so apparently it's just me and Kay. We're the only ones that know that it came from coffee, tea, or milk. So
You
and
should have the audience talk about. You said there's lots of tea or potentially some coffee colloquialism phrases.
yes, are there any other
If you
catchphrases that involve tea or coffee that I have
catchphrases,
missed?
catchphrases
I don't know. You can call them catchphrases. I think so. Anyway,
like
so
1533.
you've given away the catchphrase. No, I totally get that. All right, so I think let me check here. Yeah, so the original tea bag. Most people think that those didn't come out until later. And keep your mind out of the gutter. It was
There's another phrase I know.
found it. And so those came out in 1907. And so it was actually the tea leaves were sold in a silk bag. And what the people who bought it discovered, they would just drop the tea bag into the water, use it, and then empty out the leaves, put more leaves into the bag, and keep going. So it used to be they were just in little silk. They were just in little silk tie bags. And so it wasn't until 1953 Tetley tea. If you guys remember those ads, like I said, I made sure I got an ad on our YouTube page for Tetley tea, very southern kind of a thing. And they were the first ones to put them in the paper baggies. And so Nestle was the first one to put to make it instant. Again, I almost don't even like talking about it instant because it's not
the
very
devil's
tasty.
drink right there.
That's where it comes
Yeah.
around to being the devil's drink. Very good. So I'm going to. So that takes us down to the brands. We talk a little bit about all the different brands of coffee. Talk about all the different brands of tea, and I'm just going to rattle them off rapid fire. If you have a favorite, chime in the comments and let us know. We've got the classics: Folgers, Maxwell House, Hill Brothers, Euban. We've got this slightly newer ones: Nescafe, Nespresso. The ones that are named after donut stores like Dunkin's and Horton's. Pete's Coffee, which came out of San Francisco and is kind of connected recipe wise to Starbucks, Evil Empire. Also, fancier ones, Lavazza and Javalia. Ones that go into the little K cups like Green Mountain and Keurig. A very old one called Chock full of Nuts. I don't know if you guys ever have heard that one, but do you not remember
You
that
sure?
one?
You
No,
sure
it's
that's not a tea company?
I know you would think that it would be something like that,
Put
and
that
yet,
in a tea bag.
see, I knew I should have checked on invite. Maybe I shouldn't have invited you. I don't know. No, this is perfect though. And then some other newer tea or some newer coffee places like Scooters, Seven Brew, Caribou, and Dutch Brothers. Some of the old coffee crystals, some of them I know, right? They sound terrible.
The astronauts have to have something.
Apparently, and those things were Sanka and Taster's Choice. And then, of course, some of the ads that I added: General Mills International Coffees. And so it was always such a frou-frou, very 70s, 80s commercial. The ladies with their fluffy hair at home mixing up their little Swiss mocha and Irish cream coffees. And and those were coffee powders. So then with Lipton, yep, and Inger does remember all of those as well. So of course the brands of
Old.
well, I'm old too. That's probably why we're able to communicate as well as we do on these. That's probably it. So, with the brands of tea, I'm going to rattle off a bunch of those. Some of the newer ones like Tezo and Teavana. Some of the older classic that were quite often used in southern states like Lipton, Louisiana, Tetley, Nestea, like taking the Nestea plunge. I have that advertisement in my list as well. We have some of the hot tea brands that are very popular in the UK as well as the States, like, am I saying this right? Twinings? It's not Twinnings, it's Twinings, right? I think that that's it. So Kay believes that the original Taster's Choice instant coffee was the best as far as all of those.
Agree to disagree.
Well, and here's the thing. Let me let you in on a little secret about me and coffee. Ooh, Karen loves lavender tea. That is a fantastic idea. I wonder where I can.
Chilling.
I wonder where I can get some lavender for my tea. Where would I ever go for that? Oh, Karen. I would go to Karen if I ever wanted any kind of lavender, I'm sure. Highly recommended. She is growing her own lavender farm, and I love to hear everything she's up to when it comes to
I
that.
mean, I thought Dave mainly was into the lavender thing.
No.
Karen was just allowing
Dave is
him.
supporting his wife
Oh,
like a
okay.
good husband should.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So but my personal feelings as far as coffee, I love the smell of coffee, but I hate the taste. And every couple of years I will try coffee again in the hopes that I'm going to like it again. And I still haven't gotten there yet. Now, just as an example, as you age, your taste changes. Like in my 20s, I didn't like Guinness, but into my 30s and 40s, I love Guinness beer. But I keep waiting to start liking coffee, and I just haven't yet. So I'm sticking with tea. Yep. And then Kay said, back from the 70s. Yes. So there's some really old ads of that. I'll have to see if I can find more Taster's Choice ads and add them to the YouTube playlist as well. Now, one of my other memories was I would sometimes make coffee for my dad, and his choice was Folgers, not Taster's Choice, but Folgers. And he had what it was a big deal when we got the Mr. Coffee maker, so it was easy for all of us to make the coffee instead of having it percolate on the stove. Speaking of percolating on
you
the
don't
stove,
actually lose taste buds as you age. Well,
uh,
actually, just like skin or anything else, you lose some and you gain new ones. So new
gotcha.
ones grow up, grow back.
Gotcha. All right. So, Jim Boltus, thank you for joining us. Cream and sugar for the win. I agree. If you can get as much extras into there, maybe I can make that coffee a bit more tolerable.
I would add, especially when I was younger, I would add a little bit of hot cocoa to kind of make it
Oh, like a
mocha-y.
mocha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. I like that one a lot. And then Kat said, never liked coffee until my 40s. So, very similar. And then Inger said that you lose taste buds as you age. So maybe that's why the Guinness tasted better for me as time went by. And maybe there's hope for me and coffee yet. So, uh,
Maybe you just lose taste as you age.
I mean, I did marry you later in
That's
life,
true.
so there was that. Yeah. Uh, so then I did want to mention also that my grandmother had the old fashioned that you put it on the stove and the little percolator thing. Would do that cool little percolating at the top to show when it was boiling, when it was almost finished. Now, mom was more about iced tea than she was about coffee. And that was where I mentioned the sun tea. And tea didn't really end up in a bottle, like as a bottled beverage, until much later on, like the 80s into the 90s. And so, if you have a preference, what's your preference between Gold Peak or Pure Leaf? Do you have a preference? And then also, a lot of times people would add tea. So,
Heated tea?
sorry, add lemon to their tea.
Oh.
Sorry, I was
Add
reading
more
as
tea to the
sorry,
tea.
I was
That's fine.
reading. I was reading as I was going. It didn't go very well at all. So Kat says black with a dash of sugar. Crystal likes Cafe Bustelo, the chicory coffee with milk from Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans. So that coffee, of course, they have the little beignets and stuff. Hopefully, I'm not locking up. There we go. And of course, you've got Kat laughing. What were the odds? Inger says, I feel like coffee is a learned taste. Kat prefers the pure leaf uh, bottle tea. I prefer Gold Peak bottle tea. But I will say, I think I like the pure. If I do the sweet tea, which isn't very often, I will go pure leaf sweet tea over.
Red Diamond.
Oh yes, and Milo's. Those are some classic ones as well. So those are some of the other.
But I'll tell you, the problem is the same problem with all of that packaged stuff. They have to put so many preservatives into it. It
Mhm.
just doesn't taste like
It
tea.
loses
Tea is
that
so
taste.
pure, in particular, coffee and tea both. They're so pure to start with. They
Mhm.
start adding anything to it, and it does not taste like it anymore.
Yep. So, and then the other brands that I listed
Oh,
were,
yes.
oh, yep, Stormy Loves Twinings, if I ever say it
That
right.
is
Peppermint tea.
That is
Ah,
my
that sounds
brand.
great.
That is my
Twinings
brand.
is your
Well, yeah,
choice.
and I'll
Hmm.
do a lot of different ones. We have them up there.
We do. We do.
I have the ones with the vanilla and the honey built into it.
Ooh, okay.
I like the Earl Grey, all of that, but it's that
Nice.
brand. It's almost always
Is
that
is the
brand.
favorite,
Yeah.
is the choice for you. So, and I actually, of
Stormy is
course,
right. You let Stormy know she's correct.
good job, Stormy. So, and of course, I've got my tin collection that never ends. So here we are. Let's see if I can get some of the glare off of this. I've got a little Seasons of Piccadilly tea, a fancy little tea thing. I also have, let's see, what's the name of this? Kwang Sang Tea Company. I have some lemon tea. This is a little harder to do now that I have this brand new fancy light. It's hard to show that off. And then, of course, I have a lovely. Hopefully, this is less glare. fingers crossed if I back it up. This is a English breakfast tea from Smith and Johnson. What a fancy name. So, and of course, I have those kind of collected
See,
throughout.
Kat brings up something interesting,
What's
which
that?
I talk about quite a bit. She says, with a grandma who grew up in the South, we drank sweet tea like Kool-Aid, always sun tea all summer.
Yep.
And there's something that I like to call the sweet tea line. So, and it's right in the middle of Missouri. So
Is it kind of like the Mason
it
Dixon line?
is a lot like the Mason-Dixon line. So, in the south of it, if you go south and you order tea, you're getting sweet tea,
Unless, yeah.
unless you like throttle the waiter
And they
until
look
he,
at you
yes,
funny.
yes.
Yeah.
But in the north, it is absolutely tea when you order tea. Now, my dad went up north, and they had sweet tea all the time. And so my dad went up north and ordered sweet tea, and they brought him tea. And this was just Iowa, right?
Oh, no.
And
Oh, I know
and
what the
and
story.
and it was just straight tea. And he's like, no, 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 I wanted sweet tea. And they're like, oh no, don't worry, honey, there's sugar right here. Which anybody who knows sweet tea is about to lose their mind over that. You do not add sugar to regular tea. That is not how you make sweet tea. That is not right.
Yeah. So you live, you learn with those. So yes,
So
I
we're,
do
we're
have.
on the line right now. So if you
We're
go out here where we live and you say you want tea, they will always ask you.
They'll check.
Yeah.
They'll
Even if
check.
you just
Yeah.
say, I want
Mhm.
iced tea,
Mhm.
sweet or unsweet.
Yep. So, and yes, Inger, I did mention Celestial Seasonings. It's next on my list after Bigelow, Turkey Hill, Celestial Seasonings. And then from there, we get into some of more the bottled or canned teas that lots of people tended to love. Arizona, Milo's, Snapple, Sobe, and Fruitopia. Believe it or not, Fruitopia had tea, and I liked the Fruitopia tea because it was very fruity. So, Kay said there wasn't enough sugar in the world to make sun tea taste good.
You're wrong. I mean, Kay, everyone's allowed to their own opinion,
But
yours is
she
wrong
said,
and you're a bad person for having it.
she said milk, so she's on my side. She is on my side. And then Jim said we like half cut tea. I wonder why it's called half cut. I'm not sure why it's called half cut. I do know what is it when you make an Arnie Palmer? Half of it is tea and half of it is lemonade.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
that's
really
bad.
adding lemon to the tea.
Palmer,
Arnold Palmer. There we
the
go.
golfer.
Yeah, Arnie Palmer. Yeah, that's what those are called. Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I was a big fan of the Fruitopia tea, which is part of why I included that ad in the YouTube video. Kat says, I have a friend who argues that tea is just tea. You either order tea or sweet tea. You should not order unsweet tea.
Your friend is correct. However, if she went in the South, she'd get sweet tea so much
Probably.
that she'd give up on that.
Probably, sadly. So, and then Inger does not like canned or bottled tea, and I completely understand. The ones that I've tried, it's rare, and I really only tend toward the Gold Peak just because it's a very simple tea, and if I'm thirsty but I don't want to have a huge bunch of soda calories, I end up choosing that one instead. So one of my other things that I hope you guys get a chance to watch the YouTube playlist that I put together. Like I said, I keep mentioning it, but it does have some of the brisk tea ads because when you think of the word brisk, do you think of tea? It's probably because of advertising. And then also one of my favorites, when you take the Nestea plunge in these commercials, what they're singing is taste the taste of wetness. And I'm like, wouldn't the taste of wetness be water instead of just tea? But it just seemed like
Not
it
only
seemed like a
water is
strange
wet,
thing.
all liquid is wet. It could be the taste of acid. That's also wet.
I hadn't put the thought of that. But yes, categories, the Nestea plunge. And then of course Inger said poor taste and the danger of extra things. All the
Hey, Ingrid
preservatives.
and I.
That's right, Inger, and you do have a lot of things that you get together on. And so then also, of course, here recently the addition of hard tea. Of course, adding alcohol to just about everything. Now I know there are
Makes it
Long
better.
Island iced teas. There's no tea in Long Island iced tea, my friends. There's no.
There
It's just
is.
it's a splash of soda.
It's right there.
The name of it?
Yeah.
Okay, just in the name. In
It's the first letter of the second word of it.
it's tea in name only. So we have something very special. I know we've already gone past our 30-minute
we've gone
mark,
over.
but it seems like these are going about 45 minutes. So what we have time for is I have a Starbucks problem. I try to fix it by going to mom and pop chai places because I love my cold chai. Now, I wondered, what is it? What are all of the spices that are in chai? So I looked up the recipe and I found them. the names of 7 different spices. Now I've tried cinnamon before. I know what that tastes like. And Dave Grunder says yum. Excellent. And so
Yeah, for the booze.
so
That's where we got Dave in.
this
with
is
the
so
booze.
of course it is. So this is where we're going to have a little bit of fun. So it just so happens that I have purchased little tiny things of each and every spice that is considered to be in chai, and we're going to do a little taste testing. So let's see. I'm starting with.
By we, she means she.
You're not going to do it with
No.
me? Oh man, have you tasted these before? The first one I'm going for is ground cloves.
I've tasted ground cloves. It's delicious.
Is it? Okay. So I'm a little scared because I don't want to get, Okay, I'm not really sure how to feel about it. It definitely has some extra aftertaste, and I don't know if I'd call it a kick, but it's definitely a little different and kind of sticking up to the top of the roof of my mouth a bit.
Palate
So,
cleanse in between.
oh yes, I should. Pardon me while I palate cleanse with not tea.
Well, it shouldn't be tea. Tea's
Well,
not
it's water.
palate cleanse.
So yes, water is a much
Sparkling
better
water is
palate
much
cleanser.
better.
So my next one is ground allspice. I have no idea.
I've tasted
Why do
it.
they call it allspice? Is it lots of different spices? Did they just get lazy with the naming process and decide that they should just call it?
To poke it with an awl to get it.
Is very strong. These are definitely. I'm learning a lot, guys.
Because
I'm learning a lot.
If they
Oh,
told you it
do a
was
different
owl
finger.
spice, you'd have a problem eating it.
Okay, that was much milder than the cloves. The cloves were definitely a bit more pungent. Um, and that allspice it seems a little less. It's not quite so much. Now ginger I know, but I'm still gonna go ahead and test it anyway because ginger is part of it. Let me get this popped open real quick.
I can't have that. It would
Oh,
be considered
yeah.
cannibalism, or at least partial.
Because you have you have a whoops, I totally unscrewed that and I should have just
Here,
sprinkled
just
whoops just like
chug
put
the whole thing. Let's see how that goes. Cinnamon
Oh,
challenge for you,
Karen, if
man.
you want to drop by and try some of these spices, you're welcome to do that. Now, like I said, ginger, I know because, um, this smells like the little side thing that you have whenever you're eating your sushi. Ginger, hello. So here we go. Tastes basically like the little ginger that they have, the pickled ginger that they have. So
That's ginger snaps. Right
is
there.
that a ginger snap? Aren't you cute? All right, what's next? Nutmeg. This one I probably know pretty well
Taste
too.
the nutmeg.
The big reason why I would know nutmeg would be you top your eggnog with it. You sprinkle it over the eggnog. So let's see. I think I said that one. Dave Grinder says Old Spice yuck. Inger says cinnamon, ginger, cloves, cardamom, and black pepper. So black pepper I decided not to bring in to try.
You're not here. I'd see you.
Oh, gotcha. And Crystal said allspice has a few spices combined. All right, so that makes sense. And so I'm going to go ahead and test the nutmeg here.
Yes. See, Jim's right.
What is
I'm
Jim
wrong.
right at? What I didn't see what Jim said. Oh wow. Okay, so when this isn't part of eggnog, that is definitely a stronger, spicier. What were the odds? Kind of a taste. So all right, so let me do a palate cleanse yet again because I still have 3 more to go. 3 more to go. I've got coriander, cardamom, and star anise. If I'm even saying that right.
That's the one I haven't tried.
Are you going to try one of them? You think you're going to try one? So
I don't know. We'll see.
so
If enough,
yeah,
if
so
enough
Karen, you're
people are
welcome.
Dying to have me try that nasty stuff. I'll give it a shot.
So Karen, you are welcome to
Peer pressure.
you're going to try which one? This one?
No, the star anise.
Oh, the
I've tried
star
all of
anise.
them.
Okay. So but
I'm a
Karen,
cook.
if you
I
want to
can
come on
find
in,
them.
you can come on in. You know where the magic room
Ow.
is. That kind of went out,
Yeah,
didn't
I
it?
mean,
That definitely just like popped right out, and it even has the sprinkle top too. So this one is cardamom, and it's funny because I couldn't find tiny cheap cardamom. I had to get the more expensive. It's in glass cardamom. So we'll see how. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I am at least using a different finger and then trying to palate cleanse as I go. So cardamom, are you familiar with this one?
mhm.
Now that one seems to have it's I don't know, it's weird to say it's like it's dustier, but it has a similar kind of kick to the first one.
Yep, sage.
The cloves. It has similar kick to the cloves for me. So let's see here. Coriander is my next one. So let's see. Oh, and also, by the way, I've been using so I don't like just stick my fingers into the spices that I might actually use. Hey, Karen, come on in. I'm actually using these cute little plates that I got for like $1 a piece at.
Those aren't plates.
They're spoon holders. They're tiny little bitty plates. So let's see. We're trying the coriander. So hey, look
What are you
who's here, you
doing?
guys. Karen's here.
I just
Everybody
popped in on Julie
This is
Pop.
perfect.
That's
Everybody say hi to Karen.
It's a
So,
good town,
yep.
you know.
So, and before I lose everything here, Jim Boltus mentioned. Hang on. Hopefully, I haven't missed
You could
anything.
just throw them all in your mouth and drink water. Save lots of money.
That's true. Jim said, think about how much money and time you can save just by taking a spoonful of all these spices and a gulp of water. I don't know. It doesn't seem to have the same taste. And then he said, I'm in the car with a mom right now. And Kat said, dust. Yum. And Inger said, if you go to India, it is called masala chai. If you ask for chai, it will be brewed black tea. So, because the word chai means tea. All right, so let's see. Have I tried the coriander yet? I don't think I have. We're going to try the coriander next. All right, so Karen, are you going to try some of this coriander with me?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Do I have to sign anything before I do this?
Jim says,
Nope.
no, but it's
If
totally
you
up
die,
to you.
we'll just
so.
bury you in the backyard. It'll be fine.
Okay.
And then scrub the tape.
So see, and it seems like the coriander and the cardamom have a certain similarity to them, almost like a peppery kind of a thing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's a little peppery.
Yep. So this one right here is the cardamom. If you want to try it
People
too.
are saying hi.
All right. Yes. So Inger and Jim both say hi to Karen.
Hey there. What
So
is
there's
this
the
now?
that one's cardamom.
Cardamom.
Just eat it. Don't worry about what it is.
Cat says hi. No,
I have
he
tried
hasn't
all
tried.
Of them but
No,
that one.
this is
at
the only
some
one.
point in
Yeah,
my
so
life.
this is the only one that we haven't tried yet, and it is the star anise. And I'm probably just gonna get one of them out and just. Crystal, of course, knows her spices, and so she was gonna say. She said to grate it, but Steven's like, just pull one out and lick it.
I
And it's not
figured-
like we're gonna reuse it.
I figured
so-
I'm grading enough as is. I don't need.
You are
you know.
indeed grading enough. You're absolutely right. So, all right. So with that in mind, okay. Why is there a sprinkler on the top of this? If it's these big giant, because
I've wondered that for years.
it's not coming out. I don't know unless, or maybe people get their crap together and they grind it and then put it back in the thing. So,
That doesn't sound right.
You know what?
all right,
that's
there you
like
go.
a
Go
terrible
get
Okay,
the
here's-
light first.
It's a terrible.
Okay.
spice.
So
I know.
yeah, I'm a little afraid that. Of course, I saved this for
You
last.
go
Why did I
first.
save this for last? Okay, hang on. I gotta
We're
get it.
not- We don't need to each get one. Here, I'll
Well,
break this one apart.
Okay. Well,
These things are gigantic.
can you break it into three?
Can I break it? I can break it into 17. What did I?
Well,
a
just
body
break it
chop
into
it real
three.
quick.
I mean, and like I said, I'm not going to just like swallow it. So Kat says it's probably a licorice taste, and I'm definitely catching that licorice smell for sure. Like as soon as I opened it up.
See, there's
Nice, very
plenty
well
of
done.
those.
All right, so yeah, and I'm not probably I don't know.
Breaking things is
Do
what
I
I'm
s-
good at.
Do I swallow it or lick it or what am I going to do? All right, well I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
get
should
it.
Just chew on it for a while.
Yeah, like tree bark.
I'm just going to lick it. I'm a little scared. So Dave said he made Karen some chai tea over Christmas. That's
Yeah, it was
tea
really
tea.
good. Yeah.
Really,
We-
good
we'll
job.
give a box, so you can
Oh,
have it.
okay, gotcha.
It
So
was
box
not-
tea.
there was very
All right,
little
are you
effort.
guys? So I'm the first one to do this. All right, here you go.
Not my show.
Yeah, it's licorice. Yeah, it's basically licorice like it's on a piece of wood, 100%. So I am not. If Crystal knows me best on this taste, I don't like licorice at all. And it's funny because one of my shots of choice used to be Jägermeister, and Jägermeister, of course, is licorice flavored. All right, let's see what Karen thinks about it.
Yeah, it's like eating tree bark.
Yeah, it's
Licorice.
very tree bark licorice. So I think we have our.
Which tree bark do you eat?
Well, I just like it. I didn't say I had a lot of.
So,
ingredients
so-
in it.
you wouldn't know what to compare it with if you haven't done it at least once.
Thank you, Kat, for the jokes. That's what she said.
I lived out
Wood
on a
jokes.
farm.
Wood
We had
jokes.
lots of room and trees and yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I love it. And Crystal says Black, and Jim says, "Isn't there a Kiss song about that?" About
I'm down. This is like blackjack gum. I'm down.
so, of course, of all the people, of all the one that he tries, that ends up being the one that he likes. Oh my goodness! So we have about 2 minutes of wrap up time. So in these 2 minutes, first of all, I'd like to thank my special guests. I didn't know I was going to get any special guests until fairly last minute, and even more last minute. So thank you to Steven, aka Roddy.
I'm Roddy.
I'm Jules. You're going to find us if you want to come and see us on Saturday. There is a wrestling show. We are going to do the national anthem at 6:30 p.m.
United
and
States National Anthem.
that one, yeah. So, and probably right around 6-ish or so, we'll play some 2 Roddy and Jules originals. So we'll let you know what those are if you show up. So we would love to see you at that. Also, my friend Karen, amazing that she dropped by at such short notice and so was able to, taste the madness that just
thank you.
happened. Of course,
Oh.
you're welcome. Blah. Blah. So then I do have to make an announcement to you all for what is next week's theme going to be. So now you're in on it. It is going to be, and I had to do something music because I am big into music. So we are going
You're
to do,
wagging.
I know. So we're almost done, promise. So we are going to do TV theme songs. So we are doing a music category next time. So we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Thank you again for being here. Since we're having some lag problems, we'll try and tackle that as well. Thank you guys again. I appreciate you being here, and we will start talking about all of our um, TV themes. So think of your favorites, and I'll be posting at Julia Pop. You can also go to www.juliapop.com to see all of my essays and all of my creative stuff. And again, guys, thank you so much for chiming in and making this fun. So Ernie said, better get him the words ahead of time. So, and Kat said, cheers, thanks. Dave said,
Hang
sweet.
on, that's
What?
not funny. That's a reference to my third grade singing of the Star Spangled Banner. where I couldn't
Oh,
remember the
okay.
words.
All
And
right.
of course, Ernie remembered that.
Of
I
course,
have
of course he
stories
did.
about you, Ernest.
Well, we'll find another week to tell those. So again, thank you so much, Inger. Thank you as well. Have a great evening. Kay Knight, thank you as well. Thank you for all the comments. And we'll do it again next week at 7 p.m. Bye.
So I think part of it is there's so much in the background, and when
Yeah.